No, it's a hybrid.
There's just no way to do that. The only way usually to have it here is to drag it down, and then you still gotta drag it back up. So you can work from here. No, it's not. Not too rowdy. Well, I mean, it's up to you. No matter what, until you get part of it. Does that make sense? I can't read it.
I might have done that in 1 or 2 weeks ago.
That's why you can get this up here. So better on just
Where does it come out? Is it over by the
Oh, no, it's not very much.
Yeah, that's enough. But I appreciate your head. Oh, he is not. Calm down.
Hello, we're ready to start the meeting. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. The Board of County Commissioners are holding a regular meeting on September 3rd, 2024 with County Commissioners Veronica.Medina, Warren.Brown, RMaez, County Manager JMHarper, County Attorney Todd Weaver, and Clerk and Recorder Archuleta. I am calling this meeting to order today at 1:30. As a reminder, please silence your cell phones, and we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, are there any disclosures or conflicts of interest? I have none. All right. Approval of agenda or adjustments to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda with the amendment of moving new business C to new business A.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Agenda's been approved. At this time, I will, let's put this in. Do you have control of this? We can do it the way we used to. Do you have? All right. We will. Yes, yes. All right, so at this time, we will, I'll open the floor for a public comment. If you have not filled out a form for public comment, the forms are outside the door, so you can do that at this time. So first up is Joe Robic.
Yes, ma'am.
If you will please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
I'll take about 35, how's that?
Okay, thank you.
I'm Joe Robic, I reside at 161 Vista San Juan, here in Pagosa. I'm a retired military officer and also a retired certified financial planner. I appeared before the board about a month ago and asked some questions about where we had the monies to release a county manager and then hire a new county manager. I've not received or heard any response to those questions since that time. In addition, in openness, I would hope, and transparency, we've seen a lot of articles in the Pagosa Sun about the acquisition of properties across from the hospital and now in Aspen Village. We're talking about spending $2.1+ million on one piece of property at roughly $10 a square foot, and another $2.5 million in the Aspen Village area at something around 10 3/4 to $11 a square foot. My concern is, where is this money coming from? How have we got that budgeted for? I have not found it in any of the documents that I've been able to obtain. And I question the feasibility of spending that much money, particularly taxpayer dollars, on pieces of property that are, in my humble opinion, considerably overpriced. Now, I've lived here off and on since 1991. I've watched this little town of ours grow slowly, but meticulously. We're doing a good job trying to keep this place comfortable and safe. But we're sure as hell not doing a good job in explaining to our full-time residents where the money's coming from, where it's going to be spent, and for what purpose. Right now, I'm looking at a possibility of this county spending upwards of $40 million on a building to house maybe 50 or 60 people. Perhaps we should not have sold the old courthouse. Maybe we should be looking at what properties we have south of town, where we already have a considerable amount of acreage that's available where we're parking our maintenance vehicles and things of that nature. I would like, and I challenge commissioners to get a little more transparent, to be open and above board on what it is that you're planning and where do you intend to spend this money. Because in my opinion, I worked damn hard for that $8,000 of property taxes I just paid at the beginning of this year. I don't want to see it wasted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, Mr. Rubin, a lot of that money that was budgeted last year out of pills.
I'm sorry, I'm very hard of hearing. I spent 35 years flying helicopters, so
A lot of that money was budgeted last year out of PILT, payment in lieu of taxes. That was in the budget for that allocation for the funding of this. So the money's there, we're just reallocating the money that we're getting and not using it for other things other than what we can with PILT.
Okay, where do I have to go to get a copy of that budget? And see how it's
Finance,
working?
finance department can get you one.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Next up is Lawrence Scheidler.
Scheidler? So, my question, I guess, would be directed mostly to Commissioner Maez, since you've been here the longest and most directly involved.
Just one
Name and
moment,
address.
can you name and address, please?
I beg your pardon?
Name and address.
for the record, please. Can you state your name and address?
Oh, my address is 145 Sundown Circle. Good.
That's good.
Okay, so back to you. We've done a number of significant constructions in the county in the time that you've been commissioner. We've built a detention center, courthouse, renovated the sheriff's office, paid, I'm not sure, were there other construction capital ventures that we've done since you've been a commissioner?
Yeah.
Okay. My question really comes down to, we borrowed money to build, haven't we?
We did for the detention center.
What is the total debt of the county at this time?
The debt right now is solely for the detention center alone. That's the debt we're paying on right now.
We only have debt on the convention, on the detention center?
Correct.
How much is it?
I believe that is gonna be approximately around $15 million.
Okay. Do you know what our debt service is?
It's higher than that.
I beg your pardon?
It's higher than that. I don't know the approximate limit,
Do
no.
you have a number?
No, I don't.
So we have roughly, what, 13,500 people in the county? Is that a drop, right?
14,340 something.
But not all of those people are taxpayers.
Those
we
are
have to
residents.
assume that there's a certain number of people in each house. So I mean, if you have a husband and a wife, you don't have 13,000, you have 65. You see where I'm going?
Yeah, I see, but the census says we have 14,000, so that's the amount of the people. The amount of the taxpayers varies among that
Okay,
number.
so there are 14,000 people paying taxes.
I don't know if that's for sure, that those are residents of Archuleta County.
Where my question comes down to is each of us have assumed an amount of debt from the county. So if we take the total debt and divide it by the number of taxpayers, it's how much each of us currently owe the county.
Yeah, probably.
You agree?
Yeah, the
Do
taxpayers.
you know how much that is?
I'm part of it.
How
No, I
much?
don't. I'm not a mathematician yet. I gave you a number, you tell me. I said it was 15 million.
I'm sorry,
I gave you a number, I said it was 15 million. If you expect me to answer it just off the top of my head, then you answer it.
yes, okay, but the debt service really gets to be the question, doesn't it? Because every year, for instance, in this past year, any number of people saw the appraisals and thus the tax back go up 80, 90, 100%.
Yeah, mine went up 300. And the thing is about it, the thing about it is the county only collects 20% of that.
Yes, but the tax is directly a function of the assessment, the appraisal.
The appraisal, yeah, and the assessed market value of the home. Not market value, the assessor's value, but a lot of the values are set by the market. So the higher you sell your property for, raises your neighbor's property tax for the next assessment.
I'm missing the point.
Well, the point is, if somebody's buying, somebody's selling, and you're not gonna sell your house for what you think it's worth as the county assessor appraises it, correct?
Really,
Right.
the tax question, I think, is being settled. with the state.
I'm not following you, I'm not getting where you're going with this.
I guess.
If you want to just wrap it up, your 3 minutes are up.
Yeah, and
Hold on.
my phone number, give me a call. It's 970-398-5447.
Okay, again, that's the question is how much each of us are going to owe, because you're going to add on if you do this other construction, and how significantly that's going to change. Ought to be a matter of public record.
It is. Everything we do as far as expenditures is a public record.
The cost of each of the buildings, for instance, how much did the courthouse cost us?
The courthouse was spent and paid for through the Justice Capital Facility Fund, which was set up years ago, and the same with the sheriff's office. And it's paid for. I think that was around $9 million.
You don't have a number for that?
No, do you?
And the Harmon House got renovated. How much was that?
What was the purchase that we negotiated on that?
It's a question
It was
of
like
transparency
700.
in.
Yes, but where were you in all these meetings? That's the one thing I really get upset about. Everybody here wants to worry about it when the tire meets the road. We have public meetings on this. We had public discussion about this years ago. Open discussion, but yeah, I'm not seeing you in here.
I mean, if we go to the detention center, we voted on it twice and voted it no.
You voted on a way to fund the detention center, is what you voted on.
Okay.
And that's how it will happen.
No, please sit down. I'm done.
Mary Beth
Thank
Snyder. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to have a What am I saying?
My name is Mary Beth Snyder, 40 Birch Bay Court. And regarding, like, just about anything you do, whether it be the land or something else, I think in this case, we need another set of public meetings, which the work sessions don't work very well because we can't talk back and forth, although we were today, so that's awesome. But in the work sessions, usually we can't speak. I'm thinking we need to have one more meeting of the minds of the public now that we're awake, and let's talk about, I've heard about 8 different options for the admin building. Let's talk them through. Tell me why number 1 didn't work, and 2 and 3 and 4, and this is why we're at 5, and then we can all go home and build an admin building, or rent one, or whatever. So another public session is what I'm calling for. Thank you.
Jane Witzel. Witzel, sorry. Weitzel. Weitzel.
Hi, my name is Jane Weitzel. I live at 152 Vista San Juan. Real quick, I have been in communication with all of you, and I just wanted to say, I have 140 signatures here of people who are against the admin building, the property across from the hospital. And their objections range from a variety of concerns, including excessive cost, increased debt, its location in a residential area, the negative impact it would have on increased traffic, noise, lighting. We strongly urge you to pursue other parcels that are more cost effective, already have infrastructure. Everybody I've talked to has said, what do you mean I want to build over by the hospital? We always thought the talk was about the hub in Harmon Park, so all the county buildings would be together. And everybody has been so surprised when I talk about this. And you talk about people knowing about this. I only found out because I get the minutes from the workforce meetings. When you read the newspaper, it is not totally representative, what the developer is talking about putting in there besides the admin building. When I talk to the city, it's very frustrating that you're told there's nothing you can do about it. So I have called Commissioner Medina twice now, talked to you after the last meeting. I've never heard back from you. It's very frustrating when you say, what was it in the workforce meeting, talk to the horse sort of feed the horse and go to its mouth? I mean,
You know, it's harder to get the public to listen.
I'm
It
not
would
arguing.
be easier to get a horse to drink water than it would to get the public to listen.
Well, maybe if there was more transparency and clearness and presentation in the paper more. I mean, I was looking for this agenda a week ago and it wasn't posted till Friday. And, you know, holiday weekend, people don't know about it. It's just, it's two-sided. And that's all I have to say. And I've got copies of these names. It's not a petition, it's just a signature. Just so you know, people are not for this location. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Hudson.
Bill Hudson, 446 Elm Street. I wanted to talk a little bit about Pagosa Peak Open School. You all are aware of our school. I'm on the board, but I'm not speaking for the board. We bought an old office building, well, not an old office building, but reasonably old. Converted it into a school, and we're serving about 110 students there on a daily basis with innovative education. And we just got a $700,000 grant to do a playground that's going to be open to the public. During school hours, it'll be used by the school, and after school hours and on weekends, it'll be open to the public. I mentioned that in relation to one of your agenda items today. Commissioner Medina ran with a promise to be transparent. And I would have to say, as someone who's been covering this body for 20 years and writing about your activities as a BoCC, this is about the most transparent and hardworking I have seen of a commission. So I don't understand why this particular purchase and this particular effort has not been open to the public, has not had any public input, has not been clearly shared with the public what properties were looked at, what commercial buildings that already exist and could be purchased for $2 million, $3 million, instead of a $15 million brand new building. We bought a used building for the school, and it functions. It's not perfect, but it functions really well to educate students. We now have an after-school program, we now have a gym. We have a cafeteria that we put in that wasn't there. Old buildings can be remodeled, and we've not heard any discussion from this board why that hasn't been fully explored and why any explorations haven't been shared with the public. So my discussions with two commercial realtors in town told me this property that you're considering a purchase request for, or a purchase agreement, is overpriced. That's the opinion of the two commercial realtors, local realtors that I've talked to. So I think the speakers before you are correct. We haven't had transparency, and we need more community involvement. Thank you.
Is there anybody online that would like to make a comment? Is there anybody else in the public that would like to address us, even if you haven't filled out a form? There's still time to do that. Okay. I would like to just answer one thing that Bill said. Because I did ask the county attorney and the former county manager when we looked at a variety of properties, if that could be discussed at the meetings. I was told that we couldn't discuss a lot of the detail because it would hinder the process of them negotiating. I think at this time, I think it is appropriate that we could disclose the other properties that were looked at. A lot of it was, a couple were property owners that came to the board. It wasn't necessarily us, you know, the BoCC going out and looking for those properties. And then also, I don't know if you probably were present at the last work session last week when I suggested, and Commissioner Brown agreed, conditionally about giving all of this information to a financial advisor and having the financial advisor look at all the properties. When I say all, the one on the 160 Highway X, the Aspen Village property, looking at the old Sears building, and then looking at a property in Harmon Park, and just creating some type of portfolio, doing a cost analysis on what it would cost for those different properties, how much it would cost to acquire the properties, how much it would cost to buy or and remodel. Obviously, the only building that has really popped to the surface to be reutilized, if you will, is the old Sears building. We might be able to get the current elected staff from the old courthouse in there, but that was my suggestion. Like I said, Commissioner Brown was tentatively in agreement as long as it could be done quickly. And after speaking with Jack, I don't know that it can be done quickly, but I did ask that because I think it is important for it to be, so everybody knows. And I think it would be good for the commissioners to understand how much it would cost. I know from just the experience that I'm having with the transit building of the blasting of rock, that's been very expensive. Hence why the land tends to be a little bit cheaper because of the cost that it takes to go into developing it and the cost to run utilities and things like that. But, so that's, you know, that is something that we discussed last week. All right, with that, I will close public comment. And now on to land use. Hi. Owen? Did I swear you in? Did you swear to tell the truth?
I did.
Okay,
Madam
thank you.
Chair, just real quick, could you recess a regular meeting?
Oh, sorry.
Regulations on the
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, so at 1:54, I recessed the regular meeting and convened the land use regulation public hearing. Now, Owen, you may begin.
Okay, before you today, Commissioners, is the Rasmussen, Pagosa and the Pines Amendment 2024-01 Minor Lot Line Adjustment Final Plat at 157 Caddy Circle. Doug Rasmussen has applied for the approval of Pagosa and the Pines Amendment 2024-01 Minor Lot Line Adjustment. The purpose of this action is to eliminate Lot 1 entirely and split the acreage between the Rasmussen's property at 136 Caddy Circle and Marilyn Stroud's property at 21 Divot Place. This action will create Lot 21Z and Lot 19ZZ. The existing parcels are zoned planned unit developments. Section 4.6.4.3, subsection 2 of the Archuleta County Land Use Regulations requires minor lot line adjustments to only undergo the final plat review. Table 1, for the review process, the regulations require public meetings rather than public hearings for the approval of a minor lot line adjustment. Further, per section 223, there are no public notice requirements for a public meeting. For the discussion, the Archuleta County Community Plan Future Land Use Map designates this area for high-density residential development. The current zoning is planned unit development and will remain the same for future land use. The planning staff has reviewed the application in comparison to the standards found in section 4.4, 4.6, and 5 of the regulations and have included recommended conditions based on the findings of that review. The review matrix is also attached containing more detail. For the referral agency review, the project was staffed to all required agencies as listed in section 225 of the regulations. The conditions are also reflected below. So, based on the evidence provided, planning staff recommends that if the Board of County Commissioners finds that the application does meet the review criteria for an amended minor lot line adjustment final plat in section 4.4 and 4.6 of the Archuleta County Land Use Regulations, that the Board of County Commissioners approve of PLN 24-109, the Pagosa and the Pines Amendment 2024-01 minor lot line adjustment final plat at 157 Caddy Circle as presented with the following conditions. Condition 1, the applicant must remove the existing structures before the final plat is printed on Mylar. Remove the existing structures from the bottom, And then condition 2, the applicant must depict and dedicate an easement 20 feet in width along the front lot of 21Z and lot 19ZZ. Pending your questions, that concludes my report.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
No.
All right, if you have questions, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Please,
It
yes.
needs to go to,
Yes,
public.
yes, my apologies,
That's all right.
All right, is there any public comment? Those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, I will close public comment. Commissioners, do you have any comments? If not, I will open the floor for the motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve PLN 24-109, the Pagosa and the Pines Amendment 2024-01, minor lot line adjustment. Final plat at 136 Caddy Circle with findings A and with conditions 1 and 2 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, before you today, Commissioners, is the Searle Pagosa Meadows Unit 3 Amendment 2024-01 Final Plat Review. Tamara Searle has applied for the approval of PLN 24-122, the Pagosa Meadows Unit 3 Amendment 2024-01 Final Plat. The purpose of this action is to divide the approximately 10.69 acre lot at 841 Hirsch Avenue into two lots of approximately 5.345 acres each. The existing parcel is zoned planned unit development. For the review procedures, section 4.6.4.3 of the Archuleta County Land Use Regulations requires minor subdivision amendments to only undergo the sketch plan and final plat review. The sketch plan review was completed after agency staffing and a conditional approval letter was sent on July 19th of 2024. All conditions noted in that review have been included in this final plat submission. All public notice requirements in section 223 and table 1 have been met for this project. For the discussion, the Archuleta County Community Plan future land use map designates this area for very low residential development of parcels between 5 and 35 acres in size with up to 2 dwellings per lot. For planning staff review, the planning staff conducted a review of the final plat and completed the attached matrix to document those results. No conditions were added by the planning staff. For the referral agency review, the project was staffed to all required agencies as listed in section 225 of the regulations. After that review, there are 2 conditions outlined below. As of the date of this report, no written public comment has been received regarding this petition. The Archuleta County Planning Commission heard this proposal at their August 22nd, 2024 regular meeting, and their recommendation is also reflected below. For recommendation and findings, based on the evidence provided, the Planning Commission recommends that if the Board of County Commissioners finds that A, the application does meet the review criteria for development in a planned unit development district in section 3.1 of the Archuleta County Land Use Regulations, and B, the application does meet the review criteria for a final plat in section 4.4.3.3 of the regulations, then that the Board of County Commissioners approve PLN 24-122, the Pagosa Meadows Unit 3 Amendment 2024-01 Final Plat at 841 Hirsch Ave as presented with the following conditions. Condition 1, the applicant must depict and dedicate a 20-foot utility easement, 25-foot utility easement at the rear and outside lot boundaries of both lots. And then condition 2, the applicant must add the Planning Commission certificate to read this plat and the statements hereon reflected the recommendation of the Planning Commission made the blank day of blank month 20 blank. This approval does not extend to the design of utilities, sewage disposal, roads, or any other service facilities by Cherry. Pending your questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
Yeah.
And you're aware of the requirements?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions or concerns?
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I will open it up for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that is in favor of this? Anyone opposed? All right, I will close public comment. And commissioners, do you have any comments in regards to this?
No, ma'am.
All right, if there is no comment, I will open the floor for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve PLN 24-122 Ghost Meadows Unit 3, Amendment 2024-101, Final Plat at 841 Hirsch Avenue with the findings A and B and with the conditions 1 and 2 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item C.
Okay, before you today, commissioners, is the Gonzalez Minor Subdivision Final Plat Review, 335 Rob Snow Road. Lucia Gonzalez has applied for the approval of PLN 112, the Gonzalez Minor Subdivision Final Plat. The purpose of this action is to divide the acreage into 2 separate parcels. The applicant is planning on keeping the parcel she resides on and giving the other to her son. The existing parcel is zoned residential. For the review procedures, section 4122 subsection 2 of the Archuleta County Land Use Regulations requires minor subdivisions to undergo the sketch plan and final plat review. The sketch plan review was completed after agency staffing and a conditional approval letter was sent on February 23rd of 2024. The applicant was using Tom Johnson originally as her surveyor, who has unfortunately passed, so you'll notice an increase in conditions from a newly licensed surveyor that completed the final plat. All conditions noted in that review have been included in this final plat submission. All public notice requirements in section 223 and table 1 have been complied with for this project. For the discussion, the Archuleta County Community Plan Future Land Use Map designates this area for medium to high density residential development. The current zoning is residential, lot 1 and lot 2 will remain as such after approval. For the referral agency review, the project was staffed all required agencies as listed in section 225 of the regulations. The conditions are reflected in this report. For the public comment, as of the date of this report, no written public comment has been received regarding this petition. For the Planning Commission review, the Archuleta County Planning Commission heard this proposal at their August 22nd, 2024 regular meeting, and their recommendations are reflected below. For the recommendations and findings, based on the evidence provided, the Planning Commission recommends that if the Board of County Commissioners finds that A, the application does meet the review criteria for development in the residential district in section 3.1 of the Archuleta County Land Use Regulations, and B, the application does meet the review criteria for a final plat in section 4433 of the regulations, then that the Board of County Commissioners approve PLN 24-112, the Gonzalez Minor Subdivision, final plat at 335 Rob Snow Road, as presented with the following conditions. Condition 1, the applicant must change the plat title at the top, in the title block, and in the certificate of owners to read Gonzalez Minor Subdivision. 2, the applicant must change the subtitle at the top, in the title block, and in the certificate of owners to read creating Lot 1 and Lot 2. Also removing of the Gonzalez Minor Subdivision. 3, the applicant must remove the certification for the town of Pagosa Springs, as this parcel is within Archuleta County. 4, the applicant must remove note 3 and conduct adequate research for easements of record. 5, the applicant must remove notice 1 and notice 2, as the applicant has the ability to tap into the PAWS system or construct a septic and or a well. 6, the applicant must remove notice 3, as that information does not pertain to this plat. 7, applicant must remove notice 6, as that information is not pertinent to this plat. 8, applicant must remove notice 9, as this information is not pertinent to this plat. Condition 9, the applicant must change the lot identifiers to be Lot 1 and Lot 2 on all aspects of the plat. 10, the applicant must add the Planning Commission certification to read. Planning Commission certification, this plat and the statements hereon reflect the recommendation of the Planning Commission made the blank day of the blank month 20 blank. This approval does not extend to the design of utilities, sewage disposal, roads, or any other services. By Chairman. 11, the applicant must change the county commissioner's conditional certification to read, "This plat, vacation, or public utility easement, or public right-of-way as marked, and the statements hereon were conditionally approved pending completion of special improvements on the blank day of blank month 20 blank by the Board of County Commissioners of Archuleta County, Colorado, by chairman." 12, the applicant must change the county commissioner's approval to record certification to read, "Having ascertained that these conditions of approval have been satisfactorily completed on this blank day of blank month 20 blank, the Board of County Commissioners approve this plat for recording by the county clerk and recorder by blank chairman." And then 13, the applicant must depict and dedicate easements 20 feet in width along all interior and exterior lines for the installation of maintenance and utilities. Pending your questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
I don't believe so.
And they are aware of the requirements?
She is aware, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wanting to make sure because, I mean, I know Ms. Gonzalez and this has been explained clearly to her.
So it's actually been explained to her daughter, Ezzy, has
Okay.
been helping her through this process. So I've explained this to Ezzy as well as Max Pons, her surveyor, who has made corrections from a previous plat amendment in Pagosa Alpha.
Okay, one other thing too, Pam, to your staff, I want to thank them for working really hard with them, trying to get them to understand all the legalities and the situation that goes along with this, because I know I was I was called upon several times, and your staff has really gone above and beyond, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'll open it up for public comment. Is there anybody in favor? Is there anybody opposed? Okay, I will close public comment. Commissioners, any other comments?
No, thank you.
All right, then I will open the floor for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve PLN 24112, the Gonzalez minor subdivision at 335 Rob Snow Road, with finding A and B and with conditions 1 through 14 as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right. Item D.
Okay, Commissioners, before you this afternoon is Omar Pereira's Mastercraft Concrete Batch Plant Board Conditional Use Permit at 20420 State Highway 151. Omar Pereira, representing Mastercraft Ready Mix, has applied for the approval of PLN 24-105, the Mastercraft Concrete Batch Plant Board Conditional Use Permit to construct and operate the portable plant on an already existing concrete pad at the location of 20420 State Highway 151 in Arborlees. The equipment that will be used to operate this business will consist of 5 mixer trucks, a loader, and the portable plant. The applicant will have 7 employees working on site between the hours of 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. with the anticipated traffic volume of 1 truck per hour coming in or out. The applicant will be using retention ponds to collect the wastewater from this operation to act as a filtration method to prevent pollutants from entering groundwater. This parcel is currently zoned commercial.
Right. Is the applicant available? Are they here?
He is not here. He also was not at planning commission.
Okay. And they're aware of it?
They are aware of the conditions, though I have not had any correspondence since I've presented the conditions in my report.
All right, at this time, I'll open it up for public.
I still have a whole.
Oh, sorry.
That was just the executive summary. Sorry, this was
I
a
guess
little
because I read
more
it.
wordy.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on to Table 3, uses by zoning district, the Archuleta County Land Use Regulations allows the use of a concrete batch plant in the commercial zoning district with the approval of a board conditional use permit. Public notice requirements outlined in Section 223 were met for this project. For the discussion, the future land use and zoning review, the parcel is zoned commercial. The future land use map designates this area as very low density residential. This use is consistent with the designation. For the referral agency review, the project was staffed to all required agencies as listed in Section 225 of the regulations. The Archuleta County Planning Department also conducted extensive research regarding the impacts of a concrete batch plant to better understand the proposed use and what may be needed from the state of Colorado. During research, we contacted additional agencies from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, CDPHE, pertaining to air and water quality, After numerous correspondence and regulatory review, we have concluded what is needed from MasterCraft from CDPHE in this report. All received comments are included in the conditions recommended below and are attached. For planning staff review, the staff conducted a detailed review of requirements for this application and has completed the standards and criteria review matrix, resulting in additional recommended conditions. The matrix is attached. For the Planning Commission review, the Archuleta County Planning Commission heard this proposal at their August 22nd, 2024 regular meeting, and their recommendations are reflected below. For the review criteria, before acting on a conditional use permit application, the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners shall consider the following criteria and factors with respect to the proposed use. 1, the relationship and impact of the use on the development objectives of Archuleta County. 2, the effect of the use on light and air, distribution of population, transportation facilities, utilities, schools, parks and recreation facilities, and other public facilities. 3, the effect of use upon traffic, with particular reference to congestion, vehicular and pedestrian circulation, safety and convenience, traffic flow and control, access, maneuverability, and removal of snow from the roads, sidewalks, and parking areas. 4, the effect of the use upon the character of the area in which the proposed use is to be located, including the scale and bulk of the proposed use in relation to surrounding uses. 5, the adequacy of design features to the site to accommodate the proposed use, including but not limited to accessibility, service areas, parking, loading, landscaping, and buffering, lighting, etc. 6, the effect of the use upon natural resources and wildlife habitat areas. 7, such other factors and criteria as the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners deems applicable to the proposed use. For the necessary findings, before acting on a conditional use permit application, the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners shall make the following findings. 1, that the proposed location of the use, the proposed access to the site, and the conditions which the use would be operated or maintained will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or materially injurious to properties or improvements in the vicinity. 2, that if required by the proposed use, there are adequate and available utilities and public services to service the proposed use without reduction in the adequacy of service or other existing uses. These utilities and public services may include, but are not necessarily limited to, sewage and waste disposal, water, electricity, law enforcement, and fire protection. 3, that the proposed use will be compatible with adjacent uses, including but not limited to site design, operating factors such as the control of any adverse impacts including noise, dust, odor, vibration, exterior lighting, traffic generation, hours of operation, public safety, etc. Based on the evidence provided, if the applicant has met the goals and objectives of the land use regulations, then the Planning Commission recommends that if the Board of County Commissioners finds that A, the application does meet the review criteria for a board conditional use permit in section 3234 of the regulations, and B, the application does meet the required findings for a board conditional use permit in section 3235 of the regulations, then that the Board of County Commissioners approve of PLN 24-105, the MasterCraft Ready Mix Concrete Batch Plant Board Conditional Use Permit as presented with the following conditions. Condition 1, the applicant must obtain a COR 900,000 industrial stormwater discharge permit from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment before operations begin. Then I've included how they can start that process. 2, the applicant must apply for and receive a change of use for the existing well permit 147839-A, as this permit is not intended for commercial or industrial uses. And then I've also included where they can start that process as well. 3, the applicant must allow the Archuleta County Planning Department to measure the sound generated from this operation once the concrete batch plant is in use. If the noise levels exceed the Archuleta County noise ordinance, additional conditions may apply. 4, the applicant must contact CDPHE to receive the proper air quality permitting, air pollutant emissions notice, or APEN, or an official letter of no permit or no APEN required from CDPHE. I've included that contact information as well. 5, the applicant must landscape a minimum of 15%, including a 40-foot barrier along State Highway 151 of the site, and provide Archuleta County Planning Department with the anticipated landscaping plan, which must be executed within 1 year of the approval of the board conditional use permit. The use of native landscaping materials is encouraged in required landscaping buffered areas as a method of reducing both water usage and nutrient runoff. 6, the applicant must landscape at least 10% of the total area of the parking lot. 7, the applicant must screen at least 3 sides of any dumpster located on site or store the dumpster within the existing metal building. 8, the applicant must provide the construction plans for the recirculation ponds. These ponds must be installed by certified installers and be lined with impervious materials. 9, the applicant must provide the certification credentials of the retention pond installers and proof of the work they completed with an invoice. 10, the applicant must provide a grading and drainage study showing that all surface runoff water is diverted away from the concrete batch plant. 11, if CDPHE requires annual inspections, which will be determined during the permitting process noted above, the applicant must provide these results to the Archuleta County Planning Department. 12, the applicant must construct a permanent bathroom facility for the on-site employees. This facility must be permitted and a certificate of occupancy provided by the Archuleta County Building Department within 1 year of the approval of this board conditional use permit. The use of portable toilets must cease 1 year after the approval of this board conditional use permit. 13, the applicant must abandon the existing septic tank in accordance with Regulation 43 or move the existing septic tank to another place on the property that adheres to Table 7-1 setbacks outlined in Regulation 43. 14, the applicant must apply and obtain a permit for the construction of an on-site wastewater treatment system with commercial uses. Then I've included how that process can be started and seen to completion. 14, all septic related work, including the abandonment, relocation of the septic tank, as well as the installation of the new system, must be conducted by an Archuleta County licensed installer. 16, the applicant must receive an updated access permit from the Colorado Department of Transportation prior to the operation of the concrete batch plant. 17, the applicant must provide a statement of authority for High Country Land Investments LLC allowing this operation. 18, the applicant must obtain a general variance for the height of the concrete batch plant, which exceeds the maximum height for the commercial zoning district by 15 feet. And then finally, 19, the applicant must contact the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to either receive the necessary wetlands permit or an official letter stating no permit is required before the operation of the concrete batch plant. Pending your questions, that concludes my report.
The only question is, are they completely aware that everything that this is going to entail?
They are aware. I have not heard anything back since I provided my staff report and conditions.
Okay, thank you.
What's the noise decibel for the county?
I do not know that off the top of my head.
70?
It's actually
0.50, 55, 60.
It's actually set by the state, it's not a county. The county has adopted the state.
And that's the decibels?
The DBA, and that's during daytime hours, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And that would be measured from the property line as well.
From the property line?
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, even looking at the Apple Watch here, and it has a decibel meter on it. Even in here, we're already exceeding that sound level.
That's why it's one of the park plan.
Yeah.
And it's set by the state, it's not a, it's
No,
not
I
a
get
county.
it. I get it. I'm just saying for clarity and transparency, that even in here, we're exceeding that amount. It's interesting. I have no other questions.
So I have a question. Item 7, applicant must screen at least 3 sides of the dumpsters located on site. So if they are putting screening on 151, so that you're not.
Then what did that have to do?
The whole site won't be.
It's just the dumpster has to be like in a little fence, or they have a massive steel building on site, they can just slide it in there. He hasn't portrayed any plans on what he wants to do with the dumpster. I think he'll probably just put it in his building, because it's the easiest option, and it's gonna keep animals out of it. Good respect.
I get it, what you're saying, it doesn't make sense, because the whole property is screened.
It's not screened, the whole
It is not
property,
screened?
no.
Okay.
They have to have a buffering, a landscape buffer along the state highway is another requirement.
Well, it's just distance from the setback. It's more like a setback than it is a screen. There's no screening required.
Then my next question, item 13, they have to abandon the existing septic tank because it's just too close to the property line?
It's actually too close to wetlands, and that came from the Archuleta County Water Quality Team. We went out on a site visit and found the old septic tank, and the water quality specialists flagged it for being too close to the wetlands. But again, that might be addressed during the final condition 19, the Army Corps condition. I haven't.
So my question is, was that septic permitted back when it was originally done and it passed the?
It was for a residence.
So it's a change of use that triggered it.
Yes, and the residence, it used to be a manufactured home on site, it's no longer on site. The only thing existing on site is the concrete pads and the steel building.
Those are my questions. I will now open it up for public comment. If there is anybody here that is in favor of this, please say yes. There is.
If I may ask a question, perhaps I didn't hear it. This is a temporary permit, and that, it says temporary.
It's a conditional use permit, it's called a temporary batch plant, but his plans are to operate it, permanent operation.
My question is very simple. If he or she decides to shut this down at some future date, who reclaims the property and who restores it back to its original condition?
It would that be through a real estate transaction. If he ends operation of the business, someone else would have to come in to operate the business and apply for a new permit.
And so long as the county's not responsible for it, I don't have a problem.
That's correct.
Is there gonna
Make
be,
sure that happens.
Wayne?
is there gonna be a kiln and a crusher on this temporary facility?
No kiln or crusher, just the temporary batch plant,
Oh, okay.
which is gonna be a permanent.
So where are they gonna get their aggregate from then?
They have not,
Around
well,
the
actually,
road?
yeah, they're gonna truck in their aggregate, I forget, from a company from New Mexico, that's included on the staff
So
report.
that's extra, that's a lot of weight on that road. Has that been addressed by?
CDOT did not respond, that's a Colorado Department of Transportation highway, and they did not respond in the allowed time.
But he has to have a permit.
But he has to visit CDOT and get a permit, so they're aware of it.
Was that part of the condition? Because I didn't hear that.
Yes,
Okay.
that's condition 16.
All right, so, are there anybody that is opposed? Right. Commissioner, I will close public comment. Commissioners, any further comments? All right, if there's no other comments, I will open the floor for a motion, please.
Madam Chair, I move to approve PLN 24-105, Mastercraft Ready Mix Concrete Batch Plant for conditional use permit from BCUD at 20420 State Highway 151 in RMaez, Colorado, with findings A, B, and with conditions 1 through 19 as presented.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. One more. Okay, finally before you this afternoon is the Intermountain Propane Outdoor Storage Board Conditional Use Permit at 1061 Cloman Boulevard. Intermountain Propane has applied for the approval of PLN 24-120, an outdoor storage board conditional use permit to construct and operate a propane provider / storage company at 1061 Cloman Boulevard in Pagosa Springs. The property is going to be used for receiving and delivering propane to businesses and residential customers throughout the area. Intermountain Propane will be bringing in and moving out domestic storage tanks and storing them on site when necessary. Customers will be coming in to pay bills, to have their bottles filled and RVs filled. This location will be for the daily operation of the business. The anticipated hours will be Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with overtime hours necessary, likely in the winter months. This parcel is zoned agricultural ranching. Table 3, uses by zoning district of the Archuleta County Land Use Regulations allows the commercial use of an outdoor storage in the agricultural ranching zoning district with the approval of a board conditional use permit. Public notice requirements outlined in section 223 were met for this project. For the future land use and zoning review, this parcel is zoned agricultural ranching. The future land use map designates this area as very low density residential. This use is consistent with this designation. For the referral agency review, the project was staffed to all the required agencies as listed in section 225 of the regulations. All received comments are included in the conditions recommended below. For the planning staff review, the staff conducted a detailed review of requirements for this application and has completed the standards and criteria review matrix resulting in additional recommended conditions. That matrix is attached. For the Planning Commission review, the Archuleta County Planning Commissioners heard this proposal at their August 22nd, 2024 regular meeting, and their recommendations are reflected below. For the review criteria, before acting on a conditional use permit application, the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners shall consider the following criteria and factors with respect to the proposed use. 1, the relationship and impact of the use on the development objectives of Archuleta County. 2, the effect of the use on light and air, distribution of population, transportation facilities, utilities, schools, parks and recreation facilities, and other public facilities. 3, the effect of the use upon traffic with particular reference to congestion, vehicular and pedestrian circulation, safety and convenience, traffic flow and control, access, maneuverability, and removal of snow from the roads, sidewalks, and parking areas. 5, the effect of the use upon the character of the area in which the proposed use is to be located, including the scale and bulk of the proposed use in relation to surrounding uses. 5, the adequacy of design features on the site to accommodate the proposed use, including but not limited to accessibility, service areas, parking, loading, landscaping, and buffering, lighting, etc. 6, the effect of the use upon the natural resources and wildlife habitat areas. 7, such other factors and criteria as the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners deems applicable to the proposed use. For the necessary findings before acting on a conditional use permit application, the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners shall make the following findings. 1, that the proposed use of the proposed location of the use, the proposed access to the site, and the conditions under which the use would be operated or maintained will not be detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare, or injurious to properties or improvements in the vicinity. 2, that if required by the proposed use, there are adequate and available utilities and public services to service the proposed use without reduction in the adequacy of services to other existing uses. These utilities and public services may include, but are not necessarily limited to, sewage and waste disposal, water, electricity, law enforcement, and fire protection. And 3, the proposed use will be compatible with adjacent uses, including but not limited to site design, operating factors such as the control of any adverse impacts, including noise, dust, odor, vibration, exterior lighting, traffic generation, hours of operation, public safety, etc. For the recommendation and findings, based on the evidence provided, if the applicant has met the goals and objectives of the land use regulation, then the Planning Commission recommends that if the Board of County Commissioners finds that A, the application does meet the review criteria for a board conditional use permit in section 3234 of the regulations, and B, the application does meet the required findings for a board conditional use permit in section 3235 of the regulations, then that the Board of County Commissioners approve of PLN 24-120, the Intermountain Propane Outdoor Storage Board Conditional Use Permit, as presented with the following conditions. Condition 1, the applicant must receive a stormwater discharge permit associated with construction activities through Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, CDPHE, following the guidelines of COR 400,000. I've included that permitting process. 2, the applicant must apply for an exempt commercial well permit through the Colorado Department of Water Resources, as this area is currently considered to be over-appropriated and there is currently no available water at this location. The applicant may choose to haul water to the cistern if they do not wish to drill for a well. If the application chooses this route, they must provide the Archuleta County Planning Department with all permits in a finalized cistern in place. I've included the contact for Department of Water Resources to start the well permit on that. 3, the applicant must have an approved and operational well, cistern, or cistern within 1 year of the approval of this board conditional use permit. All permits and certifications must be provided to the Archuleta County Planning Department. 4, the applicant must provide a letter of approval for all Pagosa Fire Protection District requirements showing full compliance with NFPA 58 regulations prior to receiving a certificate of occupancy. 5, no material shall be deposited upon the property in such a form or manner that they may be transferred off the property by natural causes or forces. 6, all rubbish deposited on the property must be removed within 14 days after the completion of a project. 7, the applicant must landscape a minimum of 15% of the developed land. The use of native landscaping materials is encouraged in required landscaping buffer areas as a method of reducing both water usage and nutrient runoff. The applicant must accomplish this condition within 1 year of the approval of the board conditional use permit. 8, the applicant must provide handicap parking as required by the Americans with Disabilities Act. 9, the applicant must landscape at least 10% of the total parking area with a minimum of 3 trees planted in tree islands. Applicant must accomplish this condition within 1 year of the approval of the board conditional use permit. 10, the applicant must pave all driveways and parking areas, excluding the area where intermountain propane delivery trucks will be placed on the south end of the development. 11, the applicant must obtain a right-of-way access permit prior to construction. 12, the applicant must install traffic control devices at the access in accordance with the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, MUTCD, 2003 edition. Applicant must accomplish this condition within 1 year of the approval of the board conditional use permit. 13, after construction of the new building and before the building department provides their certificate of occupancy, the engineering department will require a signed and sealed letter from the design engineer verifying that all development, including driveways, parking, drainage, and detention ponds, and paving as required were built according to plans and will work appropriately in accordance with the county standards. 14, the applicant must apply and obtain a permit for the construction of an on-site wastewater treatment center with commercial uses. I've included the steps for that as well. And then finally, 15, the applicant must screen at least 3 sides of any proposed dumpsters on site. Pending your questions, that concludes my report.
Alrighty, I will open it up for public comment. Is there anybody in favor? Anybody opposed? Would you still have an opportunity? Alright, I'll close public comments. Now I'll open it up for commissioner comments. Comments, questions, comments?
On the right of way, is that just basically to access the county road?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so I was
access.
just wondering if they had to go through private property to obtain the right of way.
No, it's just a right-of-way permit to access.
That's all I want.
I have a question if I may. So I realize it's on the opposite side of the airport than the 6-inch line that we've been talking about replacing, and that they are required to have a sign off from the fire department. But do we know the size of water line that feeds this area with this kind of business particularly? I have some concern that we have appropriate capability to fight fires.
So they're currently not in Pause district. They've been talking to Pause about the possibility of tapping into that district, but that's also why I included the condition on the well or the cistern. Either way, they have to meet the fire suppression standards with their water capacity. So whether that's through a line of Pause, through multiple cisterns, I imagine, or a permitted well.
They're in deep discussions with the fire department and trying to solve that. They're putting all the options on the table of how they're gonna solve that problem.
That's all I have.
So then, to my understanding, the water, the property is in the fire district, but the property is not in the water district.
Correct.
So then they'll have to do an inclusion with the water district to get water to that property.
If they want to go that route, otherwise it's going to be a cistern or a well.
And then, yeah, the cistern have to have.
I imagine a
That's-
lot of.
That's
A
a
lot.
lot.
Is
We
that-
like to give them the full spectrum of choices, as
Yeah,
long as they
yeah.
achieve the flow we need.
It might be cheaper to get included in
I
the
think
water
it's-
district.
Aren't they already conducting business?
They are. They were conducting under temporary use permit contingent upon receiving this conditional use permit.
And obviously, they're in deep discussions with Pause and the fire district, and they're well aware of the requirements on moving forward.
Yeah, and they attended the planning commission. I think they couldn't make it today, but they're very aware of the conditions presented.
I have no other questions or comments. I will open the floor for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve PLN 24120, the Intermountain Propane Outdoor Storage Board Conditional Use Permit at 1061 Coleman Boulevard with findings A and B and conditions 1 through 15 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right,
Thank you.
Good job.
And Pam, good job on working that out.
Yeah.
All right. All right, at this time, I will adjourn the land use regulation public hearing and convene the liquor board at 2:36. And I will swear in Tanya McCain. Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, please.
The first item is, this is an application for special events permit with Archuleta County Democratic Party Central Committee to sell malt, wines, and spirituous liquor at the CSU Archuleta County Extension Building located at 344 Highway 84, Pagosa Springs, Colorado, for their annual chili supper event on September 15, 2024. The sheriff has been notified of this event. The proper fees were collected. The premises was posted for the required 10 days prior to this BoCC meeting. Staff recommends approval of this special event permit.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
No.
No, thank you.
All right, then I will open the floor for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve a special events permit for Archuleta County Democratic Party Central Committee for their annual chili supper scheduled for September 13, 2024 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right.
The next one, this is an application for special events permit for the Ruby Event Session Memorial Library Foundation Incorporated to sell malt, wines, and spirituous liquor at 230 Fort Avenue, Pagosa Springs, Colorado, for the Annie Hillerman fundraiser event on September 14th, 2024. The sheriff has been notified of this event. The proper fees were collected. The premises was posted for the required 10 days prior to this BoCC meeting. Staff recommends approval of this special event permit.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
No questions.
No.
All right, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve a special events permit for Ruby and Sisson Memorial Library Foundation, Inc. for the Ann Hillerman fundraising event scheduled for September 14, 2024 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next one, this is an application for a special events permit for the Wolf Creek Gun and Bow Association to sell malt, wines, and spirituous liquor at 230 Fort Avenue, Pagosa Springs, Colorado, for their annual business meeting on September 7th, 2024. The sheriff has been notified of this event. The proper fees were collected. Premises was posted for the required 10 days prior to this BoCC meeting. Staff recommends approval of the special event permit.
All right, commissioners, questions?
No questions.
No, thank you.
All right, open the floor for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the special events permit for Wolf Creek Gun and Bow Association for their annual business meeting scheduled for September 7th, 2024 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, thank you. All right, do I have a motion to approve the liquor board consent agenda as presented?
Madam Chair.
That's,
Yeah.
yep. So, Madam, sorry, I'm.
Yes, under consent agenda for the BoCC/liquor board, item A, consideration and approval of a hotel and restaurant liquor license renewal for Two Chicks and a Hippie LLC doing business as Two Chicks and a Hippie.
All right. With that, commissioners, any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Open the floor for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the liquor board consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, at 2:40, I adjourn the liquor board and reconvene the regular meeting. Move on to the consent agenda.
Commissioners, good afternoon. Under the consent agenda, item A, payable warrants and purchase cards for the period of August 21st, 2024 to September 3rd, 2024. Item B, consideration of resolution 2024-66, consolidating 2 lots located in Aspen Springs subdivision number 6 into 1 lot owned by Stephen and Mary Hunts. Item C, consideration of resolution 2024-67, consolidating 2 lots located in Twin Creek Village into 1 lot owned by the Thomas Revocable Trust. Item D, consideration of resolution 2024-68, unconsolidating 1 lot located in Twin Creek Village into 2 lots owned by William W. Huff and Cheryl A. Huff. Item E, ratification of the vice chair signature legislative committee commissioner designation form. Item F, letter of support for Town of Pagosa Springs application for Great Outdoors Colorado Community Impact Grant. Item G, letter of support for the U.S. Department of Transportation Safe Streets for All grant.
Commissioners, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, I will look forward for a motion.
Is there a line item we need to?
I didn't see one.
Okay. Alright, Madam Chair, I move to present the consent agenda as presented.
Commissioner, approve?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. On to old business.
Yes, Commissioners, excuse me. I got way too many tabs open in my tablet. So before you, old business, items A and B, these were tabled, I believe from the August 6th meeting, is that? Okay. Again, it's a letter of intent with ArenaLabs LLC. This is for the purchase of approximately 5 acres of land located at Highway 160. And along with the letter of intent is a proposed purchase and sale agreement. Also, if the commissioners would like to discuss both properties at the same time, new business item A is also a letter of intent with Pagosa Partners One Inc. That's approximately 5.5 acres of land located at 291 Cornerstone Drive. That is a property that is over by Walmart. The other property, of course, is the one over by Carson, the hospital. Just for, based upon some of the public comments, I wanted to answer a few questions. So, back, it was August, I'm sorry, wrong tab again. It was in April 2nd, regular meeting, when the monies for was set aside for the purchase of property for the new admin building. That was before the commissioners, via resolution, see if I can find it. Again, $3 million was set aside for the purpose of purchasing property. $1 million came from the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund, or LATCF, and $2 million came from PILT, or payment in lieu of taxes. So of the $3 million that was set aside, it is all money that the county receives from the federal government. It is not local property taxes generated by the local mill levy. So it's all 100% federal money that the county receives, and that was set aside for the purpose of purchasing property. Also, I was doing search, it was over a year ago when there was a consideration approval of a letter of intent with that developer on the north end of Harper, Wilson County, building a new admin building. So that was discussed. It was also discussed in the work session June 20th and August 19th of last year. So more than a year, we've been discussing the possible purchase of property for a new admin building. So that popped up in my feed as well. So I just wanted to highlight that all for you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about either letter of intent or the purchase and sale agreement. Yes. all I ask.
So we can discuss both of the properties?
Yes, I mean, I think that's, kind of makes the most sense. You can take them on one at a time, or on pros and cons of both, or however you like to approach it.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, on property X, I believe that's the one on South Pagosa. The one thing I wanted on that was the county not to be held accountable for any type of HOA or any type of conditions that the county would be under, but it looks like in the letter of intent, it shows that we have to be under some type of review of design or facade of what the building's to be constructed of.
Yeah, that's correct. In the letter of intent purchase and sale agreement, if the county were to purchase that property to build a building, then the county would be exempted out of any type of homeowners, property owner association. There may be some, limited restrictions based upon this consistency with the rest of the neighborhood and building the building. But that's, yeah, there would be no requirement of any type of POA or HOA dues or anything along those lines.
Right. But the one thing I would say is, the rest of the development is built, and if the county building is built before that, how can they maintain a standard?
Well, I think they would apply it,
Because we set this
property wide, the entire, I believe, 100 acres. They tried to develop a consistent look and feel for the buildings, just for aesthetic purposes. And there's a provision in there that basically says it cannot significantly increase the cost of the county building, and significant or substantial equates to a 10% increase in construction costs.
I'm not really we're looking at the letter of intent, I'm not really satisfied with it. I don't want to have to build a road, expend money to build a road, and then yet, the road will belong to the town, it's county taxpayer dollars. I know we all drink from the same trough, the way Steve Wiley used to say, but that's an added expense before we even build a building. And I'm not sure about it, and then, the dangling carrot of workforce housing and everything, that's not the county's responsibility. That would be the developer's responsibility. There's not a timeline on when it's gonna be done or built. I'm just, the unknown of a lot of things and details of going into this, I'm not in favor. I'm gonna state my opinion.
Well, I feel strange that if for once, maybe twice, I'm in agreement with Commissioner Maez.
Mark it down on the calendar.
I know, this is a day to remember. So here are my thoughts. I have, and I expect the other commissioners have as well, but I really languished over this decision. Sorry, I'll try to speak up. I really languished over this decision. I started languishing about this when we were looking at selling the old courthouse because it was in such horrific shape. And that something had to be done, and we were going to spend millions one place, or we were going to spend millions at another. But nonetheless, it had to be done because the infrastructure had crumbled around our ankles to the point where it was just not an option to keep this. We have been going through this process, what feels like a long time, and because of the legal advice that we received, and I think rightfully so, that if we were to discuss these openly, it would affect or could affect the bargaining power of the county. That being said, I'm not in a hurry with the consideration that we have a tight window left. We have 3 years, folks, to build a building, to find a building, and to move the folks that are currently within this building and maybe more to a new location. I am not opposed to having an additional public meeting, as Ms. Snyder requested, and discussing this. If we can openly discuss not only these two properties, but if another property comes up, an existing building that is really an option and would be functional. The last thing I think we want to do is to put ourselves right back in the position where we are today, but something that is usable. This is our money collectively. This is not the county's money, this is our money. And I've never forgotten that with each dollar that I agree to spend, you earned it first. So I'm not opposed that if we table the decision with the understanding that we're going to have at least 1 to 2 public meetings and input, that as Commissioner Medina had suggested, which I think is a wise idea, that we look for professional advice from a person or a company whose business it is to compare and contrast the options at the table that the county has. So you're included in this decision if we can, and again, indeed, have a discussion about all options. That's all I have to say.
Okay, well, you can say we're half in agreement.
I didn't expect you to come back. But thank you.
You know, looking at this, yeah, we have 3 years, okay? Some suggestions have been made that, you know, maybe the school district will go to the voters to see about getting a tax increase so they could build a new school and move the kids out from downtown and us utilize the old school. But if anybody read the paper last week, they got an F on that building. And that would probably better serve the community there as a commercial property instead of government non-tax paying institution. So, you know, the quality of the building, you know, or the sewer, the water, and all that would have to be analyzed too. It's still gonna put us out another long term. And I know I heard Commissioner's Medina's thing about the Sears building. Well, that's only partial. It's not gonna fix it all. And, you know, if we look back, and I've lived here all my life, I'll be 60 here pretty quick. It's a long time. But paying attention to what has been done in the past and what has not been done, for the simple fact of, oh, nobody wants to pay for anything. You know, we tried to ask the taxpayers for a temporary sales tax, which would sunset to build the jail, the sheriff's office, and the courts all combined the first time. And the taxpayers were repeatedly misinformed by people saying that we were asking whether we need a jail or not, or courts, or a sheriff's office. State statute depicts that for us. We have no say in that. We have to have it. We asked the taxpayers to help us pay for it through the sales tax. The majority of that would have been paid by the tourists. That was the best option back then. If it had passed the first time out, we'd have been $15 million in debt being paid back by a sales tax over 15 years. The second time we went out, all we could build then was just the sheriff's office and the jail, and not the courts. Okay? So then the taxpayers again then were then misinformed that we were asking them whether we can or cannot build a jail or a sheriff's office. State statute depicts that. We had to. The voters turned it down again. So the third item, getting the sheriff's and the jail, we could only fund the jail through a certificate of participation, which is going around it, another option that we have legally that we can do to pay for it. We ended up buying and paying for that jail at $15 million in a turnaround period of 3.5 years. The taxpayers, if they'd have been more informed, or if they'd even come to some of the public discussions that we had, and we did have them, I attended them, then they'd have been properly informed. But I really didn't see anybody actually in this room there. There was a lot of other people there, different people. But the concerned ones always show up when it hits the road. You know, I wish the taxpayers would have paid for it or voted it through the first time we asked. Our county would be better off now. And then we would still have the reserve capital of the Justice Capital Facility Fund to go on further use in the community. But we didn't. All this misinformation that went out by people with thinking, we don't need a jail, we don't need a jail. Well, hey, I'd rather not have a jail. I'd rather have a society and the people that you don't have to put anybody in jail. That would be great. But reality is reality. We don't have that. You know, what we do have is what we have to comply with state statute. And that's the law. The state could have done it for us, build part of a jail, then hand us the rest of the bill, sit here and figure it out. But I'd rather figure it out. That's what we're elected to do. We're not elected to farm it out to some people who look at things and say, well, I think you ought to do this, I think you ought to do that. You know, when we're elected by the people, we're elected by the people to make these tough decisions. And it sucks. It's a hard time. And it's a hard time making these decisions. But we have to make it. We have to weigh it out ourselves, and we have to make the best decision for everybody. We're in it too. We have to pay the taxes too. You know, but Band-Aid fixing, you know, renting a place or buying a small little building to renovate and do it again, you're throwing money away. If you're gonna do it right, do it right. And the right thing's the hardest thing to do. And I've said that repeatedly. And we as a board, we have to do that right thing. And if we keep putting it off, it's gonna cost us more, just like this jail's costing us now. We need to make a decision. And like you guys say, we're on a timeline. Well, hey, let's step up and start dancing, because the band's about ready to leave.
So with the timeline in mind, I think that if we go the route of bringing somebody in as a consultant, that we should let them know right up front that we expect to have this analysis done, presented to the board, so a decision can be made no later than the first regular BoCC meeting in December, so we can contract with this, get it signed, get it underway, so 26 or 25 it starts.
No, I'm not in favor of wasting money on a consultant, and we should make the decision ourselves.
I know that it costs us money, for the consultant to give us that analysis unless we pick, correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, if we went with the consultant, as you explained it to me, this financial advisor would do the analysis, and then if we picked one of their options, then we would have to pay.
So typically what happens is when a governmental entity hires a financial advisor, there is no cost to it. But what happens is then whenever you issue debt or you do a project, then the financial advisor gets a percentage of that as part of their payment. That's the standard practice.
Do you not have to see a financial advisor when you do a certificate of participation? So that's basically what your suggestion was? Is moving to a certificate of participation for what?
No, that's not what I'm suggesting. So I'm suggesting that we engage with this financial advisor to give us a real apples to apples comparison of what we as a community would be spending with each option, whether that is an existing building or whether that is buying a vacant land building. Because I think it would provide an amount of transparency, not only for us, which I think is very important, but as importantly, the community.
Okay, and we haven't discussed the other property either.
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's ready to build on tomorrow if we needed to.
I agree.
It's got all the infrastructure, it's got everything there, ready to go. At a little higher cost, but hey, there's a cost of doing business, right?
I agree.
The primary developer put a lot of money into this first, and this development's already been established, it's already been approved.
No argument from me.
You know, I think if you seek or go to a financial advisor, which I think they're solely alone for certificate of participation. I think what you're thinking about is hiring somebody to go out and look at these properties and then come back and say, well, this is the one you ought to do.
Just give us.
Isn't that what we did? What did we do?
We haven't done it.
No, didn't we look at all these other properties?
Yes, we did.
Did we take them under
We got a
consideration?
variety of properties presented to us over the year.
You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. But if this is the direction you guys are going, I can see it. Hey, you know, it's gonna be yours to do it next year. I just promised the community I was gonna work hard to that job, and I am. But you guys wanna push this out, push it out, just push it out. Because that's what it sounds like where it's going right now. It's the one I was seeking from the board. If that's what you guys wanna do, then let's do it. We wasted some people's time and money coming back to the table. You guys have time and money invested in this. I know Mr. Dan has a ton of money and time invested in this. The only one that I think is probably the wisest thing to move forward on is the one in Aspen Village. Simply because it's already approved. It's already developed. The water, the sewer, the electric, everything's there, and we don't have to build a road. And I believe, if I can talk, can I ask Mr. Sanders a question?
Why don't you ask me first and have the answer?
I'd like to ask him if we would be excluded from the HOA or any other type of designs that we are in the other that are in town.
Yeah, I can answer that. So, I didn't want to chime in. From what I understand, if we push a decision out, one of these two properties may not be available in the future.
I've been down that road before on other stuff that we've done. And Wayne, you're shaking your head yes, because you've seen it.
Yeah.
You too, Rachel. You know, are we stepping over a dollar to save a dime here? Or are we gonna start doing business of what we're elected to do?
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Not yet. Well, I don't think that it is a matter of trying to push the decision down the road, or not to make a decision. I think my point in asking what I asked last Tuesday was because I heard the community loud and clear. Snyder is one example of what's being said, is to have a community meeting so they can come forward, listen and present. I understand, as Todd has explained, that we've been talking about this since April of last year, or June of last year.
I spoke about it in 2020.
When you were running for reelection.
And I let the people know then we were gonna have to look for a new administration building and land to build on.
And I know that we are the ones to make the decision, but I feel like it would be prudent of us to get a financial advisor to show us what the cost would be. And then we can show our constituents what it would cost to renovate a building if that's how we decided to go. Or if we were gonna purchase property and build on it in Harmony Park. Or if it is, and maybe it's not available in Aspen Village, or if it's Highway 160. I mean, those are all things, I think it's a reasonable request, and we don't even know how much it's gonna cost.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's reasonable at all. Because, you know, the thing is, Veronica, the previous commissioners did this with the old jail, the one that was down there. You know, how long did they discuss about this? I mean, they discussed this for years before they made a decision.
Well, one thing's discussed, but there was
And
no
then,
maintenance done.
and they discussed it, and they said, well, we've had hundreds of meetings about this. I remember Clifford Lucero saying that. We had hundreds of meetings about this. And then, yeah, when it came down to squeezing the trigger on it, we got the same pressure. Got the same people coming in saying, don't do it, don't spend the money this way, don't do it. And we did it.
Yeah.
But we're still ahead of the game financially. I mean, we could have been way ahead of the game if the taxpayers would have approved it. but
And
we
also,
had to make a decision. But if you guys wanna keep talking about it for years, I think you guys can keep talking about it for years.
well, we're discussing it now, so that's why we're having this conversation, so we can discuss it. It's not a matter of that we wanna push it down the road.
That's what
We're
you have
having,
to talk about.
we're having this discussion, so just, if you will, open your mind and just hear what's being said.
I think that mine's pretty open.
The second thing is when a constituent was saying about looking at property that the county already owns. Well, the county owns property in the county. It's required by statute that we have this building in the town. So even though we have property in the county, we cannot build on it for an administrative building. So that's why we have to look to the town for property in the town, just to be clear on that point.
I have to disagree.
It's by statute, sir. It's not our decision. It's by statute.
There's only so many people though. Not everybody has to be in the town. Not everybody who works for the
All
county.
all elected officials, elected officials.
Okay,
Mr. Weaver,
that's
if you
like
could
5
please explain
people.
it.
Statute requires, it is specific elected offices. I'm trying to remember all three of them. I know the sheriff's office must be within the county seat. The county seat in Archuleta County is the town of Pagosa Springs, that's set by statute. I believe also the assessor's office must be in the county seat. I believe the treasurer must be in the county seat. Or it's a clerk of record, it's one of the two, I can't remember which one it is. Also, the Board of County Commissioners is required to have at least one meeting per month within the county seat. So because of all those requirements, if the county's gonna relocate essentially everyone in this building, as well as everyone in the old courthouse, because of those statutory requirements, the new admin building would need to be built within the town limits. That's statute.
So you don't actually have to have everybody house in the same building.
All the electeds.
Only elected. All right, commissioners, any other comments, discussion?
Madam Chairman,
Hold on just a moment. We already have a comment.
That is correct. This isn't a public hearing, so there's no requirement to open up for public comment.
I guess before.
Can she make an exception?
Yes, she can.
Yeah, I can. And so what I was gonna
Yeah, and as I
say.
say, it's the chair's discretion if she would like to open up for limited public comment, that is your discretion.
And I believe I will open it up for, additional public comment on this item. But before I go there, is there any other further discussion that the commissioners would like to have on the other property?
I think, I would basically just more discussion, I'd say, look at it wisely. See what's easiest to get what is needed and done for the people of Archuleta County. You know, there's what, maybe 40 people in here? I know the county's a lot bigger than that. You know, the squeaky wheel always gets the oil, but, you know, there's other people out there relying on us to make the right decision.
I gotta tell you, I wanna make the right decision. I don't think 60 days is going to smother the right decision.
I think it will.
I don't think so. I believe that there is one property that's ready to build, that no utilities need to be made, and no road needs to be put on. I think that's a very great piece of property. Where I'm coming from is, we've had members of the public say, would you please make sure that this is the right decision? I don't think 60 days is going to kill the right decision. I just don't. And
I do.
I appreciate that difference of opinion, Ron.
Okay, we'll see in 60 days.
All right, with that, I will open it up for public comment. If you will raise your hand, and then I will call on you, you come to the podium, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to talk. So, Warren.Brown, please come forward.
Sorry, I'm getting old and crooked.
no, you're not, I'm older than you are.
Warren.Brown at 235 Grandview Court. Ronnie, thank you very much. You know, it seems to me that the Harmon Park is the most ideal spot. You've got a light area there, you've got your jail, you've got your metro center, you've got one floodplain area that doesn't have to worry about, but you've got your utilities and everything there. It's central in the town, and I'm in favor of the Harmon Park. And I appreciate you know, your concern about time, because time is an essence. Because with delays in construction, which there always is, that could push us past that 3-year mark, and then we're gonna be holding in bed with all those county employees.
Yeah, the only bit of property we have in Harmon Park Lane is a small amount.
Yep.
And, to tell you the truth, I'm leaning toward Aspen Village. Okay, the reason why is because we're looking at the expense, right?
Right.
So if we build in Harmon Park on that little bit there, we're gonna impede on the parking, plus we're gonna have to build a 2- or 3-story building.
Yep.
Which will add a huge cost.
Okay.
Above and beyond what we would if we just built one floor.
Okay.
That's the reason why I'm looking differently.
Okay. All right. Just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe?
I am older than he is. Whether he agrees or not. Okay. Let me be succinct. Number one, I'd like that letter of intent from, is it Arena or Areno? Arena, withdrawn and taken off the board completely. Reason, the developer doesn't own the property. He has yet to close on that 100 acres. How can we put out any pen to buy 5 acres on something we don't even know who owns it yet? So if we wanna buy that 5 acres next to the hospital, let's go back to the gentleman who owns the property and see if he would negotiate a price. If that's not possible, then let's take a look at Aspen Village. As you said, it's got all the utilities already there. It has an HOA, but I'm not sure that it even extends that far, does it?
It doesn't. The property has, it's 5 acres.
It's just the 5 acres, you know, west of the Sears, old Sears store complex.
No, sir. It is right off of one highway. It's right in the, next to 160, not
Okay.
west of the Sears.
If it doesn't have any HOA, let's look hard at that. You've already talked about Harper Park. What's wrong with building a 2-story building on 4 acres as opposed to a 1-story acre on 5.5, 1-story building on 5.5?
It's the
Let's
cost.
take a look at that. No, my experience in the financial business is that when we go erect and we put additional stories on a building, we don't make the cost go higher. They come down.
How long ago did you do this?
Well, let's put it this way, the last time I built a 3-bedroom house.
That's a residence. That's
Yeah,
totally different from
no,
commercial.
it's the same thing.
No, it isn't.
And the last time I built a dog kennel at Fort Rucker, Alabama, I put it on 2 acres and went up 3 stories. And saved half the building cost. Now, admittedly, that was 20 years ago. So you gotta take a look at that kind of stuff. And I gotta agree with Mr. Brown. Let's set a timeline, 90 days. If you haven't come to a point and reached a priority of 1, 2, 3, 4 within 90 days, then you're not doing your damn job. So Warren, I would suggest you make a motion to the board that we give ourselves 90 days to get ourselves off the ass, get to working. Comments? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a couple of questions. Jane Weitzel, 152 Vista San Juan. When the original jail proposal went out for vote, was that building plan the same as what was built, or did it come down?
No, it came down. It included the sheriff's office and the courts
That is
altogether.
why I did not vote for it the first time. It was overkill, it was the Taj Mahal. I believe, and I think a lot of us have said, you live within your means. I would have loved a big 20-acre ranch. We can't have that. live within your means, why, and this isn't a question for now, but why, and maybe you have a reason for why you need 30,000 square feet. I don't understand it when you've got 50 to 60 employees. That's not for now. So, okay, that was my question. How is the I understand you have $3 million for the property. How is the building gonna be paid for?
Yeah, there's options on that. We could go out and ask the taxpayer again to help us, but, the answer would probably be no.
My point is you do not
Or
have the money,
we
right?
can do a certificate of participation too.
Right.
Those are the options that are possible, but it's gonna be up to the future commissioners. Because obviously it's, hey, I'm gonna be gone in 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter. The thing is what I'm dedicated to do is doing my job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna work hard till I'm gone. And number one, if they choose to go a different direction, then fine. I understand. I've been outvoted before and I'm okay with that.
Okay. I've talked to commercial builders, people here in town. I've been told not all of Harmon Park is rocky.
Not the front by the highway.
There's multiple lots.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've also been told, a 2 to 3 level, a 2-story building is not necessarily more expensive. That's why I like the apples to apples. We've talked about that. I mean, I asked 2 months ago in a letter to the commissioners, I would like to see a spreadsheet comparison of why, and it gets back to that transparency issue. You guys might have already in your heads looked at that stuff, but we don't know that, I've that 3.9 acre of land for sale on Harmon Park. They said they've never checked for rock over there. So how do you know?
Which one? The one we built on?
No, along 160, it's a 3.9 acre lot. So I'm just saying, we need answers, and that's a big, talking about it and giving the public a spreadsheet, answers would be great. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Hi, Bruce Cooper, 25 East Drive. So, Ronnie was talking that the one over by the old service building, it's already got the infrastructure and everything else in. But I haven't seen a single thing on what that's gonna cost, right? I haven't seen what it's gonna cost for the Pagosa one. But the Pagosa one, you've also gotta look at, from what I understand, it's quite a bit cheaper. So if you add your infrastructure into it, are you still gonna be cheaper at Pagosa? The lady just said apples to apples. You haven't said a single thing about what it's gonna cost, how much infrastructure.
We gotta build the road that goes in there.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you gotta build or anything else. You're looking at bottom line.
That's right.
Okay, you haven't said that. You haven't said what it's gonna cost to do the infrastructure. You probably haven't even looked at what it's gonna cost to do the infrastructure. Because all you're looking at is buying the building. No, you're only looking at buying property. You haven't looked at the total deal here. If it costs $3 million to buy one piece of property, and you can buy the other one for $1 million and put in the infrastructure for $750,000 there at 1.75 compared to $3 million. I haven't seen those numbers. Where are they?
And were you listening earlier when I mentioned to Todd here, and as we were talking, that I mentioned that we have to build a road, we have to extend the water?
I just said, Ronnie, I just said, you gotta look at the total cost. What is it gonna cost you to buy that piece of property, put in the roads, and whatever else you need to do?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not looking at that total cost, if all you're looking at is saying, well, this is gonna cost us too much to put in this infrastructure, without the cost of that and the property, you're not doing it. From what I understand, you guys have said that, I've heard it multiple times, that you're buying the one on Pagosa, you buy one on Pagosa for significantly less than the other ones. So have you done that?
No, the one on South Pagosa is significantly less now. They readjusted their price too.
But again,
then also the one in Aspen Village has been adjusted too.
Okay, but again, I don't know what the prices are or
We're
anything
about to
else,
discuss.
but you guys are gonna make a decision right now, or you wanna make a decision right now, based on information you don't even have. That's wrong, that is wrong.
Well, this
The
is,
60
we're not
days or
gonna,
90 days?
let's be clear here. This is just a letter of intent. It's not actually purchasing the property. This is to enter those negotiations, and then we have 140 days. 120 to pull out of it. So then we can pull out of it anytime, once we start looking, and once we make a letter of intent, we can start figuring out the bottom line of it.
So in other words, you're putting a cart before a horse.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you are, because you don't know what it's gonna cost you to get to point A where you can start building a building. You have no freaking idea from what you're telling me.
On this?
Yes, you have no idea what it's gonna cost you to get to.
Do you know what a letter of intent is, so we can start the negotiations?
I get that, but why would you start a letter of intent with a place that's gonna cost you $2 or $3 more million than what the other place is gonna cost?
So we can figure it out, we gotta.
No, you should have that figured out before you get in there.
Right. Man in the back.
Actually, about
You make a good commissioner though. You should run.
I've been told that before.
Well, you should run. Put up.
Yeah, my name is Sharon Carter, and I live at 62 Vista San Juan. And my comment has to do with the ArenaLabs, their proposal under agreement. And I have a question for the commissioners. My question is, how can the county commissioners enter into a purchase agreement with a Wyoming-based LLC that does not own the property and may not complete that purchase until May of 2025? In the meantime, Archuleta County could have paid up to $2 million plus, which would be encumbered until that ArenaLabs actually completed the purchase. So what would happen if ArenaLabs decided not to complete the purchase, and where and how would that dispute resolution take place? That's my question.
Very simple. The closing on the property would be conditioned on their closing first. So if they did not have ownership, we would not close, period. That would be in the purchase and sale agreement.
You would still have the money tied up that would not allow you to pursue another option until they.
No.
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
It would be, we would not purchase a property from someone who did not own the property. They would have to close first and have marketable title in order for the county to close on that property and also to have marketable
So
title.
let me clarify. They would have to, ArenaLabs would have to complete the purchase of the property before the county would give it $2 million.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
Yes, sir.
I'm Carl Becker. I'm a resident of Pagosa Springs part-time on 316 Capricious Circle. But I've owned property in Pagosa Springs since about 1980. And I've seen both the booms and the busts of this town. During that time, the population growth of the county was a high of 11.2% in 95 to 96, and a low of minus 3.6% in 2019 to 2020. Overall, the growth has been about 3% a year, and it's been the same for the city, roughly. You want to purchase either the land on 160 near the hospital, or the one in the Cornerstone area in Aspen Village. And what you want to purchase, they're both about 5 acres, but you want to pay $10 a square foot for one, and about $10.75 a square foot for the next one, or you're paying basically $43,000 an acre, or a total of $435,600 for the one in by the hospital, or a little bit more at about $460,000 for the land in Cornerstone. Now, that's a lot of money. We're not buying land in Denver. And you have land available in Pagosa Springs for roughly $103,000 an acre, or 23% of the other land that you're looking at. I think you as county commissioners have a fiduciary responsibility to use fiscal prudence and not unnecessarily increase the debt of the county. It seems to me that the purchase of these lands, the building a 30,000 square foot building, is fiscally irresponsible and borders actually on fiscal malpractice. I really beg you to reconsider the letters of intent on both the ArenaLabs property and the Cornerstone property and vote not to approve them. I need to look at the Harper property, and I agree with you that having a financial planner look at all these things and make a reasonable decision in a very short period of time is very justified. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment?
Rachel Sun, 117 Maple Glen Place. I'm going to make a public comment and compromise space. Sorry, guys. It is not just a correct and right decision that we're making here. We also need to make an ethical decision here. We have an agent principal relationship disclosed in section 9.2 of the purchase agreement, and the public is being misinformed about that agency from Veronica and the county attorney. We have an issue. So there are actually hundreds of people in the county who have agreed that this is an issue. While we may not have gotten the recall petition to validate because of lack of signatures, is actually because there is a severe element of retaliation and lying in this community. And while you may think that it's funny, the people that we are retaliating against are actually elderly veterans, people who are working and can't make it to this meeting here today. And so people have been told to lock their doors, get guns, to ask us not to submit the petition so that people didn't know who was signing it so that they could be retaliated against. It has been eye-opening to hear from Veronica's friends, and they do represent themselves as Veronica's friends, not necessarily Ronnie's and Warren's, that it is fine that Veronica worked for law being agent because she's doing a really good job here. I don't think that that is appropriate, and all of this is recorded and put online at reclaimarchuleta.com. So Saturday, the 24th, when we had that meeting with Veronica and the county attorney showed up, he actually stated that the properties were going to cost between $5 and $15 million.
No, I did not state that.
It's actually in recording. I asked him if it would cost between $5 and $15 million.
It's her time. This has nothing to do with the subject before the board.
It is a
This has to do with.
It's her time.
No,
It's my time.
This is not appropriate. This also violates the guidelines that are adopted by the board.
The guidelines are a violation.
And such. It's
I
time
answer
to
solely on the.
shut this down because this has nothing to do with the purchase of the property. She's campaigning for a petition. This violates campaign law.
It's over. It's her time.
The campaign is over. The person who is in charge of the petition decided not to file it.
Sure.
So I'm not campaigning for anything. It is extremely concerning that this is happening for many people in the community. I appreciate it. I still have a couple minutes. You guys can arrest me. Okay? Thank you. So let me make my piece. There is an issue here. And let me discuss it.
I'll tell you what, why don't you just wrap it up?
I'm happy to wrap it up. I would really like it if the commissioners actually did ethical and accountable positions here with this purchase. I understand we do not have the time that we all want to have, but that is what we're dealing with. This is not an unfunded mandate from the state. This is something we are choosing to do. So in order to expand the county, not necessarily the population. It's very important that we actually consider the fact that only about 5 or 6 elected officials have to be in a building within town limits, because now that that has happened and that information has come to light, we absolutely should not be voting for a multi-million-dollar new building. Thank you.
Well, and what we're also looking at is the convenience for the taxpayer of having the availability of being able to go to a county admin building for planning, for road and bridge, for all that. And a lot of the road and bridge department and planning department are stuck out there on Highway 84. So they have to do business with the clerks as well as with the planning, filing, all that. And that's what we're looking at for in the future. You know, you gotta take Sam Walton for what he said. You gotta make it a one-stop shop and keep it minimal cost, you know, as much as we can, but also convenience to the taxpayer.
All right, I'm closing public comment. So with that, I wasn't gonna respond, but, you know, it's been said multiple times that people are being threatened by me or my family, and that is so far from the truth. I would never threaten anybody. It is absolutely everybody's right. If they want to carry a petition against whoever, that is your right. You cannot come here and talk about or try to get signatures here.
No, you can't get signatures, you can't talk about it.
But my point is, for anyone to say that my family or myself are threatening people is an absolute, utter, not the truth. I won't call anybody a liar because I don't know that.
You don't know if it's actually happening.
You may know it if somebody has threatened you, but I have never threatened anybody, nor would I threaten anybody.
Or would you ask somebody?
Never ask anybody to threaten anybody. It is another thing, because we live, as you have stated, that we live in the United States of America, and it's our given right to do these things. And it is also, because we live in the United States of America, we are presumed innocent and not guilty.
That's right.
Right? So, but in the meantime, lies have been said about me and my family, which I don't appreciate, because I have never, ever.
I don't think anybody said that you threatened anybody.
Well, I will
Not your
not, because I have not done that. Nor would I ask anybody to do that on my behalf, ever.
I just want to clarify, nobody said that.
So I just, that's the one thing that bothers me. That is truly, because that is just unacceptable.
But nobody said it.
Unacceptable. Anyway, so commissioners, what do you want to do? Further discussion?
I know what I want to do for past experience and what I've seen done when other commissioners are afraid to make a decision. You know, and I know you're gonna say, no, we're not, we just wanna look into it, I feel like this, and I feel like that.
It's not about being afraid, so, you know, again, I'm not concerned, I mean, it's about the words you choose.
You're concerned.
Because I'm not afraid to make a decision, it's not about that. I think what I'm hearing loud and clear, and you've been down this road, you've been a commissioner for almost 8 years.
And I heard loud and clear not to move forward with this jail, and I heard loud and clear not to move forward with the courts. I heard loud and clear not to move forward with the sheriff's office. But look, the people have a sheriff's office, the people have courts, and the people have a jail, that they can expand on the jail. And the courts, yes, we overbuilt it, but now we don't have to go back and rebuild it again. We have another extra courtroom that they can utilize, which they have utilized it several times for jury selection. So looking back, I don't regret one thing I've ever done. And I won't regret this either. Because I know what's been done, and I know what's not been done. It's just, if you don't remember what you did in the past, you're gonna do it again in the future.
I can't let somebody recognize that.
All right, Brown, anything further?
No, ma'am, I'm ready to make a motion.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I move that we table this decision until the board is able to identify and contract for a location for an administrative building while we direct staff to bring a financial advisor in who can provide the Board of County Commissioners with cost details of all considered options, from obtaining or possibly obtaining an existing building to the possible purchase of land to construct an administrative building. I'm further moved that the decision to be made on this is no later than the first regular board of county commissioners in December 2024. That's my motion.
Commissioner Brown, could we specify that you're tabling old business item A, old business item B, and new business item A as amended?
Thank you, as amended. Thank you for.
You're welcome.
that catch.
I second that motion.